I'm Janelle Murray. I am the Director of Substance Use Disorder Services for Sanilac County Health Department. I'm also the Vice President for Sanilac County Families Against Narcotics. So if you're more interested in that, I did pass the flyer around also. Got a lot of initials behind my name. MPH, I specialize in public health. And then CPSD is that I'm a certified prevention specialist. So this really has zoned in on substance abuse and substance use disorders. So that's really where my specialty is. That's why I felt comfortable coming today last minute talking about vaping. Any questions or comments that you have while I'm going through it, please raise your hand or just blurt it out. I don't care. I like interactive talking, and really I want to get you guys the information that you came here to get. I might not have put everything in there because I wanted to make it broad and hit a couple things, but just please let me know if you have any questions. So is vaping safe? Do we all know the answer? It is not. E-cigarettes are not safe for youth, young adults, pregnant women, or adults who currently do not smoke. They did not include adults that smoke because it's just as harmful as smoking. So if you're smoking already, regular cigarettes, you're gonna be just as harmful if you're smoking e-cigarettes. It does contain nicotine and other chemicals. Secondhand vape is also harmful. So now a lot of people will smoke or vape because it seems like nothing's coming out or it's just water vapor coming out. That's not true. The chemicals that are going in your body are also coming out. And then more research is needed to understand the long-term health effects. Vaping has only been around since about 2006, and so it's fairly new. A lot of the studies that we have been researching shows the same effects so as cigarettes. It has no difference.
So they all have nicotine in it?
They don't all, but 99% of the e-cigarettes bought do contain nicotine. You can get it without it though. I did go online to go try to purchase some e-juice, it's called, and I'll talk more about that later, but all the ones that I looked at had nicotine in it. So it's really, you have to be very careful about looking at the labels.
Different percentages.
Yep, exactly. So everyone knows that vaping is bad for you. If not, you know now. But when it comes to vaping, almost half our current users didn't believe that there was any health risks at all. The misconception is likely because misleading advertising. So has anybody ever seen an advertisement about how it's safer for you or it's water vapor? Yeah. That's a lie. Because it's so new, it still is able to be marketed in a different way, so people aren't going to be like, oh, it's that harmful for me, because there hasn't been many studies on it yet. They have fewer hazardous chemicals than conventional cigarettes, but that doesn't mean it's safe. They're just different chemicals in there. And you'll hear a lot about them being safe, but that's all the ingredients separately, and I'll talk about the ingredients in a little bit. But once they're combined and then heated, that's when it gets dangerous, and it can be more dangerous than an actual cigarette. So components. So this is just kind of going over what parts to an electronic cigarette. So any type of vape will have all these components also. There's different sizes and different, I guess, kind of vapes. So this is all what they look like on the inside though. And everything kind of works together. It's going to start off using the microprocessor. It controls the lighter and the heater. So what it has in there, it has this e-cig juice or this vape. It's either going to be a wax or juice. It needs to be heated up so it can turn into vapor so you can inhale it. So once the microprocessor starts heating up, the sensor detects when the smoker draws on the cigarette. So it's going to go ahead and let you know it's ready to smoke it. The cartridge will hold the nicotine and other flavors and propylene glycol. So it's going to hold it in there, and it just, usually they'll start off clear, but if you've ever seen a vape and somebody that vapes for a while, it will turn into a darker color because it's this bad it's the nicotine and all the other chemicals reacting. The heater then vaporizes the nicotine and you're able to inhale it. So once that heat hits the chemicals, that's when things get very dangerous. Once again, all the ingredients may not be as harmful by themselves. When they're mixed together and then heated, that is when they're harmful. And then usually at the end there'll be an LED light that will, so it'll look like a normal cigarette, or some people want it to look a certain way, so it'll light up at the end, kind of give you like, oh, I'm smoking a cigarette, if you wanted that. So as I mentioned, there's different types of vapes. So the first one, that's going to be more of the disposable vape. They're designed to look more like a cigarette, or sometimes the second one is just all black. It's just very sleek looking, compact, and easy to use. The one all the way to with the green box around it, those are called mods. Those are bigger looking vapes. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these in person, and I'm working on getting some for presentations to pass around, but those are pretty big. I would say they're bigger than this remote right here. So you're going from this tiny little disposable one over there to this mod, which you have to put your own e-juice in that one too. So usually cartridges will come for the littler ones. The big ones, you have to put your own juice into it. Has anybody ever heard of a Juul? Yeah, so at my last job, I actually purchased one of these because I was like, I have to see what these look like. And it really does just look like a little USB. It's tiny. As you can see kind of at the bottom, this is the charger. It goes right in your computer. And then the Juul just stands right up on it and charges it. Yes. When I did go buy one before, for presentation purposes, not to smoke, but there was a $25 off coupon or something. So there's a lot of advertisement around these, so that'll get you to buy something. And I thought, I'm buying it for work, so that's okay. But it does. That's how it kind of gets you to, like, oh, it's cheaper than smoking, and then it looks cooler than smoking. It's so sleek, and it looks like something that you can have in your backpack and not get in trouble for. We'll put it that way. So. The e-juice, so this is what's going to be inside of the vapes. There's all these different flavors, all these different strengths of nicotine, different strengths of different chemicals. Everyone's harmful. It doesn't really matter. And like I was saying earlier, 99% of these juices that are bought are going to have nicotine in them. 81% of kids who ever used tobacco products started with a flavored product. As an adult, I don't really think that a flavored cigarette sounds amazing. But as a kid, if you see something like a slushie, you'd be like, oh, that looks really cool. Or, like when you're a kid and you like the flavored chapsticks, that's what it kind of reminds me of. But so they come up with these crazy and cool flavors, that's what people think. And so they think it's not very harmful. I'm smoking something fruity. It's not so bad for me. Just as bad. They just are masking the nicotine with a flavor. So I just wanted to kind of go over Juul again. This is the growth of Juul use. Over the years, this has been really the number one. I'm not sure how fast it grew in this county, but I know that it's very prevalent in this county now. Most people, not just kids, but people do like the sleeker look of it. It doesn't look like a cigarette, so it doesn't seem like you're smoking a cigarette. So people will prefer that. The cartridges that they do come with, those hold just a pack of cigarettes in one little cartridge, which I think I have a slide on that. But so the people could be smoking this faster and faster too than a normal, say if you had a pack of cigarettes versus a Juul in a pod, because they can smoke it anywhere. They can smoke it inside. They can smoke, you have to go usually outside if you're in public, I guess, to smoke. But there's a huge thing, and that's really why Juul's been growing, because of the target population of the youth that it's been targeting. Yes, one Juul pod. One Juul pod. And if you guys have ever seen them, they are very, very tiny.
They're little. They hide them in your hands. I have a kid in my class, and he'll just sit here like this. And I'll say, give it.
Yes.
And he said, I have it. I said, they're that small.
Yes. Yeah, they're so easily hit. Yep, this little thing. It's a Juul pod. It really is, you could fit like that in your hands. It's very tiny. That is one pack of cigarettes.
Did you say the price? Like, what is it in comparison?
For the Juul, that I did not look.
I
When
believe it's like $15 for 4 pods.
Yes, that sounds about right, because I think it was $35 for the starter pack that included the actual smoking device.
But they're hitting it all the time. They're hitting
Correct.
it all the time. So they're doing way more than a pack.
Yes, and that's what people don't realize is that they think, oh, it's not so bad for me, but they can hit it wherever they want, whenever they want. They'll bring it to school, they'll bring it anywhere, they'll sit in their bedroom and smoke it. You can't just smoke a cigarette in school.
So there's no smoke with it?
No.
There is when you blow out, but it doesn't smell. That's the whole thing.
Well, they
'Cause
got
it's
some that
water
smell,
vapor.
that's what gives my kids away.
Oh, you can smell them? Yeah.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the thing is when you buy a box of the cartridges, you get 4 of them. So it's initially you're buying 4 packs of cigarettes for $15, and in a sense it is cheaper that way. But like she said, you go through it so quickly that it's not,
Yes,
and they
exactly.
don't understand that.
Yes.
Wow. Is it pretty bad in school?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is huge.
We
It is huge.
We've got 5th graders.
Oh
A
my
fifth
gosh.
grade, yep.
Where do you teach? Ma'am? Where do you
Sandusky,
teach? Sandusky.
at the high school.
How do they get them?
They
That's
must
why
be
they
from
online.
their
Probably.
parents or older brothers
Yeah.
and sisters.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute too. So this is not vapor coming out of there. A lot of youth are confused because vaping, it's vapor, it's water vapor. No, it's not. E-cigarette vapor is not water vapor. It's an aerosol made of ultrafine particles containing nicotine and harmful chemicals. So it's just pretty much like putting a can of hairspray in your mouth. It's aerosol. That's how it's going to hurt your lungs, just the same. Are you guys ready for all the fun ingredients? All right, so nicotine, first ingredient. What can nicotine do to you? That can alter your blood pressure, that can give you headaches, that can slow your breathing down, that can induce asthma. There's a lot of different things that nicotine does, but that's usually a number 1 ingredient in one of the in the vaping pens. Formaldehyde, anybody know what that's used for usually? Dead people. So why are we smoking it? Formaldehyde is not that harmful unless heated up when you're with the vape. So it's nothing that you're going to want to eat, but it shouldn't be as harmful as it is to your body, but you're heating it up again and then inhaling the particles of it, and that's why it's so harmful. Acetaldehyde. This is, actually, I had to write some notes down, guys, don't mind me. This is not added to cigarettes by tobacco producers. Rather, it's produced when tobacco additives, so the stuff that's in there, the sugars, the sorbitol, and the glycerin are burned. So this is what's going to be produced when you are burning. So it's one of the main components of the cigarette smoke. And this is something that will hurt your lungs and start an infection type thing sometimes in there. Acrolein is not added to tobacco, rather it's produced during smoking. So this is another thing, when all the ingredients are put together and heated, it's going to produce that. Probably should put it up there, huh? It's inhaled in smaller amounts by passive smokers, so this will come out as secondhand smoke, and this will reactivate substances that will cause irritation. So when people are around secondhand smoke and your eyes get irritated, your throat gets irritated, things like that, that's what that chemical is. Diacetyl, anybody ever heard of that before? Now this is kind of one of those that they talk a little bit more about because they say it's safe. This is something that's in butter flavoring, so fake butter, like on popcorn. It's not found to be harmful if you eat it. It's found to be harmful if you heat it up and inhale it. So again, some people are saying these e-cigs are safer than cigarettes. No, they're not. Because the FDA says that this is safe, but it's safe to eat. It's not safe to inhale. So this is the ingredient. Anybody ever heard of popcorn lung? This is the ingredient that causes that. It's going to be going into your lungs and causing inflammation and then a disease that's kind of like pulmonary. So it's really going to kind of screw up your lungs and create a lot of problems in that site. And then 2,3 pentadione. This is a flavor. This is also found to be safe by the FDA. Safe to eat, not safe to inhale though. This is a flavoring chemical. Small inhalations of this changes gene expression in your body though. So this is something that becomes cancer causing because it's mutating genes in your body. Propylene glycol, anybody ever heard of that? I watch a lot of murder shows. Antifreeze, ever hear antifreeze poisoning? People die from propylene glycol. I always throw that in there, antifreeze. So that's what, it's a very dangerous substance for you to be inhaling. People can die from ingestion of that, so you could also poison yourself by inhaling it. Vegetable glycerin, anybody ever heard of that? Again, FDA says it's safe. It's safe to eat, not safe to inhale. So that's really a lot of this, the safety of these e-cigs are coming from them being safe to eat, but not safe when you're heating it up, especially with all of them together, and then when you're inhaling it. And then there's also 8,000 plus other chemicals in there. So who wants a cocktail of all that? Anybody ever hear that there's marijuana in vapes? Yes, okay. So you can't buy readily made marijuana vapes. Maybe at the marijuana stores, but not out at the gas stations or anything like that. But people are creating their own waxes and butters, what they're called. So if you kind of see here, this is a butter that they create and they'll put it inside the cartridge and smoke it. Again, this is more harmful than just smoking regular marijuana. The vape really creates a very dangerous chemical reaction, and then the inhalation of it is very dangerous for your lungs. So, anybody ever heard how vaping can kind of explode sometimes? Yeah. All right. So in the middle, there's pictures of a vape exploded in their mouth. This one, I don't know if you guys can see it, but a vape exploded in his pant pocket. So it burned his leg, and that was pretty bad. And that's just one just starting to burn there. There's been a lot, if you go on YouTube, there's been a lot of different recorded instances of vapes blowing up. Or, oh, yeah, we can talk after, because I can come and scare them. Don't worry. No, there's... Yeah. The biggest problem is that you have usually a battery in there, but then you also have a heating element in there. That doesn't mix, and that is constantly on. It's not turned off.
Something to do too. I saw a patient one time come in and it ignited in their pocket from the change.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In combination with the battery.
Yep.
And whatnot.
Yes.
Burned
Yeah.
all the genitals.
Oh, yeah.
all the legs.
When it burns, it's not usually a small burn. It usually kind of explodes. There's stuff in there that really just wants to get out, and so it will explode. So their target market, the industry's target youth with sweet, cheap, and easy ways to get these products. Has anybody ever noticed all around town, if you even drive by a gas station, there's some type of advertisement for vaping? There usually is. You will notice now that I told you that, because somebody told me that years ago, and I was like, oh, yeah, every single time you'll see it. A lot of these posters or advertisements are going to be really targeted towards youth. So look at the colors on there. Look at the people on there. It's going to target youth. They'll put people on there that look like, Justin Bieber, or look like, somebody that's popular nowadays. They'll put bright colors, and they'll make it look very fun and exciting. So people that, when cigarettes were very popular back in the day, if you've ever looked at any of those advertisements, they look, young, fun, and
Like cartoons.
yes. So they're doing the same thing with vaping, pretty much. So tobacco product use among high school students in 2018, e-cigarettes are the highest one. So any tobacco product, 27%. E-cigarettes are 20%. So this is a graph showing middle and high school kids who currently use e-cigarettes or any tobacco products. But you see how right here, in the end of 2017, it just spiked. Guess what came out at the end of 2017? Juuls. Exactly. So that's where it really started going all the way up. And I just pulled this data because I wanted like the freshest data I could get, I guess. So 2018, it's showing how big of a spike that is. It's gone up, I believe, at least 10% by year, how much they're smoking e-cigarettes. So in Sanilac County, I did a little research. Anybody ever heard of MiFi? If you ever work in the schools, you might. But that is a Michigan youth survey that they'll take around to the schools. And so kids will answer, hopefully, honestly. But so I pulled the data about e-cigarettes from there. So what percentage of middle schoolers smoke e-cigarettes in this county, do you think?
Blow your mind.
30%.
30?
It's gotta be higher. 65 to 70.
Not as bad as you guys thought. You guys all just like put a sigh of relief. So this is really their experimental part. So this is reported use in the past 30 days though. So when they were doing this test, only 9.4% reported that. Usually it's underreported because who wants to admit I'm smoking an e-cigarette when they're 10 or 11? They shouldn't be doing that. And their age of first use was 10.5, they said, for tobacco products for middle schoolers. Okay, so what percentage of high schoolers smoke e-cigarettes around this county?
20%.
20? 36.2. If you guys remember the slide a couple slides ago, 20% of high school students are smoking it. We are way above average here. So, and we are above average for middle schoolers also. And
You'd be amazed at the people that are doing it.
oh yes,
But they have to be 18 to buy cigarettes.
to buy cigarettes, yes.
Yeah, to buy cigarettes.
Yep.
But there's no age limit on
Yes.
minor stuff?
There is. Let's see if I have it on my next regulation in Michigan. So the FDA enacted a regulation on e-cigarettes in 2016. It banned the sale of e-cigarettes with nicotine in it. Those younger than 18. Michigan has no state law affirming that regulation. So law enforcement can't keep kids from purchasing the nicotine delivery devices. They can purchase the devices, but it just can't have the actual juice in it. But where are they getting the other stuff from?
And it's like, where do they get beer?
Yeah, I'm just gonna
So
I don't really think they're doing the e-cigs, I think they're doing more of the Juuls
yes,
than anything.
so they can buy it without the cartridges in it.
Right.
They can also get empty cartridges to fill. So if there was an empty cartridge, they could also purchase that if it was empty. So then they would just have to purchase the juice somewhere. And the only regulation is no vaping in schools. That's actually supposedly. From your statements, I don't think that's happening, but that's the only regulation for Michigan. There's not a regulation unless the actual organization makes that, saying you can't vape inside here. So you could.
Penalty applied to that.
Yep. So I mean,
They go to
depending.
jail or something?
No, that's the thing. Like we're not having a lot of regulation on this because it's not mandated by the state, so they can't do anything
I mean, you
about.
catch them and.
Exactly. Exactly. So there's a big problem with that. So where are they getting them if they can't get at the store? So they'll buy the devices usually at stores, or they'll get it from a friend or things like that. I went online today to purchase some just to see if I could purchase them. All that popped up was, are you at least 18 years old? And if I clicked yes, it let me into that site and I can buy it. There, and if you just type in e-juice or vaping or anything like that, that's where it allows you to purchase that. So I searched a little, I digged a little deeper there too. So what information is collected? It says during the age verification process, we collect your name, address, and date of birth. How many people know how to lie? So people can lie about their date of birth. How are they going to really check it? So it says this information is collected automatically through the checkout page. We'll use this information to verify your age through our extensive database. I think that's a lie. They don't think they really have an extensive database that really tells you how old you are. I went to 5 or 6 different sites today, and all that popped up was that your age verification, click yes if you're over 18. That's how they're verifying. So purchase of e-juice is happening online a lot. They can also purchase the devices online. And those are my references. So now it's open for questions. Anything?
I don't understand how come there's laws against smoking cigarettes, but yet with this, because it sounds like, you know, the secondhand smoke, there's still.
Yeah, well, there's not enough research for it. That's the problem. Because it only started in 2006, they don't have extensive research saying it's bad for you. So they're just starting to come out with the research because finally, you know, it's been 10 years, so that's a really good research time to see the dangers and effects. So that's a huge thing.
I wonder what the numbers are for people that are using it that are having cancer, because it took a while with the cigarettes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the same exact thing. But they're seeing whatever results they have seen so far, it's the same as cigarettes. So really it's just taking, you know, policy to change. That's what we need to do. But, you know, the FDA is actually starting to realize how dangerous it is. Like, they approve of half those chemicals that are in there for eating. So they need to.
Were they aware that they were not going to be eaten when they approved them?
Well, that's the thing. They didn't think about them all together and then when you heat it. Because they didn't test it because they're like, oh, it's safe to eat. So.
It's not being eaten.
So yeah, that's where all this research that is happening is coming into play. There was a big win when Juul was mandated to take out of any advertisement on TV and social media. So that was recent. I think that was in the last 5 months. So they're starting to crack down on things. Not fast enough, I don't think, but again, we don't have the research saying it's not safe. So really, it's starting to come out, and people are starting to realize it.
Do you know what percentage of adults vape, and can you vape in public?
You can vape in public.
So,
I don't know the exact percentage, but vaping,
Be a lot.
yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot more, I think, than you think. But I also think a lot of adults still smoke cigarettes. So I mean, combined together, it's going to be something. I would say probably like around what the high schoolers were, like 30%.
But you know, when they're smoking cigarettes, and then they go into a restaurant,
Mhm.
and they can't have a cigarette
Mhm.
after their meal. Because I have a friend that did that, and I'm going, are you kidding me? But after she had her dinner, then she pulled out her little e-cig.
Yes.
You know,
So
but it's okay to have it in the restaurant because
Exactly.
it really doesn't set off anything like the
Exactly.
cigarette smoke.
yes.
And then you look at the workforce where people are not allowed to smoke on the job or on the
Right.
premise or whatever.
Mhm.
Well, that's a sneak way.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things happening that are pushing people into using vaping.
And I feel like too, how you said, like, society portrays it as a healthier
Mhm.
version. Like, I've heard people say, well, I cut back on cigarettes
Mhm.
and I'm vaping a little bit more now.
Yes.
Like,
I did read some research saying that it does help adults quit smoking.
Okay.
It does not help youth quit smoking. It makes them more addicted, especially the ones with nicotine in it, and it usually leads them to smoking regular cigarettes anyways.
Well, that's a great question. So, do most of them go from
I think
this
it's
to
91% that vaped
cigarettes?
smoke cigarettes after so many years.
It's good
Yeah.
for tobacco companies.
It's a gateway drug.
Right.
That's what I think.
Yeah, same way.
I missed the first part and I apologize for it. I work at the Career Center and we're dealing with it because the students, high school students, they've got it wrapped around something and before they know it, you don't even know what's going on. They've taken a drag
Mhm.
in a way that, you know,
Yes.
class just continues.
Yes.
So they're starting to try to monitor that right in the classes.
Yes.
And right now they don't know
It's
exactly what they're gonna do.
ridiculous and it's hard, and kids still are, you know, it's not harmful.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's
it is.
a
Yes,
defense
it
on that
is.
one. We
Yes.
had a gentleman come in and he had, talked about his addictions and that type of thing. And I thought he was a really good speaker.
Mhm.
And the only thing that came out of that was my kids are going, oh, he's just full of crap. It's not gonna hurt me. And I'm going, you know, he was talking about how the chemicals will heat.
Yep.
And these things go in it and they may not be harmful, but when you heat them and mix them
Yes.
and then suck them into your lungs,
That's the danger.
what type of danger are you putting yourself into? And the kids are going, they're just playing, you know, they put the blinders on. Oh no, no, that's not gonna hurt me.
Mhm.
And I'm, you know, so I'm waiting to see down the road,
Yes.
how many of these kids have cancer
Yeah.
at a very young age?
Uh-huh.
You know, it just blows my mind because they just refuse
Oh, really?
to
Yeah,
take the
believe it.
information.
Yeah. And I just ordered a new program about vaping because I'm in some of the schools. We're doing some prevention education. And so we know that all the schools are just having such a hard time with it.
We are.
So, yeah.
There's a lot of pulmonary diseases
Mhm.
that they associate with smoking cigarettes. Are these same diseases associated with the e-cigarettes?
Correct.
Like the COPD, the emphysema, lung cancer, that's all
Yes,
associated with
Yeah.
it?
I did see for sure lung cancer. Again, the length of time that e-cigarettes has been out, that's the big problem about not proving that they're more harmful. But I did see a definite link to the lung cancer because the nicotine and the formaldehyde are the parts that really contribute to that. And then also with like COPD and everything else, like the popcorn lungs is more prevalent in e-cigs than it is in regular cigarettes. So there's a lot of correlation, I guess.
Are other illegal drugs vaped besides marijuana?
I have heard that they are, but it's not common, I would say. Marijuana is the most common, but they can get THC that has very high levels in it, so it could be dangerous to do that too because they would get a little bit too high.
So you might have explained it, but I guess I'm confused too as far as what's the difference between a Juul, the Juul and the e-cigarette is just a condensed version?
It's just the way it looks.
Okay.
Mhm.
It looks
Same
just
exact
like a
thing.
little,
It's just so sleek looking and, you know, appealing to.
It's easier to.
Mhm.
it's easier for them
And
to hide. It's
At
really
first,
good
the
to
biggest
hide them.
problem was people didn't know what it was because it really hooks into your computer to charge. Like, it looks like a USB. So, it's scary.
What's THC?
THC is the psychoactive chemical in pot.
Oh.
Stuff that gets you high.
I thought I heard CBD oil too. People were
CBD doesn't get you high. It just takes it's like the
but
pain
people are
reducer.
vaping that? Is that-
Yes, but you won't get high from it.
It's the oil of the flowers is what I understand. I talked to Steve Kenny about it.
Yes.
And again, the oils go through their body differently.
Yep. The
But
THC is the part that does the psychoactive in your head.
You have to be careful though when purchasing the CBD oil because there are some that are still manufactured with the THC in it.
Yes, and a lot of I think a lot of it's still unregulated, even though state of Michigan passed, marijuana legalization. They're having a hard time keeping up with everything and making sure everything's regulated correctly. So that's something that needs to be looked at and make sure that if you are going to be using it, then use it with a safe amount.
Who's out there checking all this stuff and hopefully going to pass some laws about this?
Well, they're, independent study type things. A lot of people that would research cigarettes are researching this now because they're finding the same things. So they're, being able to prove them wrong and say, hey, this is dangerous or more dangerous. So this can cause a lot of health problems. So a lot of medical places are doing that. And scary.
Just makes it too convenient.
Yes. Especially being able to do it inside. That's what I think. I think it was changing the way that we view cigarettes, them making it not legal inside anywhere. That changed the whole game with that, I think. And that's when I think really the vaping,
That's when it started.
Mhm.
the game in
2006.
Well, once they find out the harm that it does, it'll be the same thing as cigarettes probably. you know, I mean,
You know,
and it takes a while, but then everybody's addicted, so.
you know, after we had the speaker come into the high school, and I thought he was really, you know, this man had some really hard knocks in his life, and managed to get his act together, and so he was going out and telling his story, and I'm sitting there listening to him, and going, I wouldn't have wanted to go through what this man went through, and so the kids who were talking about it when they got back, and they said, well, you gotta die from something some way. You know, and I'm going, well, I'd like to live a little longer.
So you don't realize it can happen to them though, that's where they're, unless something happens to like a close friend, I feel like that, you know, they're so worried about their peers at that point, that's the thing that influences them.
Well, it's cool right now. It's cool to do it.
You think you're getting away with something
Smoking
good?
used to be cool, too.
Yeah, exactly, so
Until you get
it's
older.
really taking the path of cigarettes, like
It is.
that's what I really see, the trends of that.
This I understand too is a man-made substance, and with these young kids, their brain is not or is not formed properly, and they're again not knowing exactly what's gonna happen once that man-made chemical gets into the brain. And
Yes.
there again, like you said, with the research is what we've gotta worry about.
Yep, so when, it's so much more dangerous for youth than it is for adults, and I always preach that because kids' brains aren't fully developed till you're about 25. So if you're gonna do something bad, do it after 25. That's what I always tell people. But don't do it at all, actually. But yeah, so it really can help, or it can harm your cognitive function. It can harm your learning abilities. It can harm a lot of different things by using any of these substances. So nicotine, anything like that. And that's why it's a big message for kids to stay away from substances in general because their brains are not developed. So that's correct.
Thank you very much, Janelle.